In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Claude with Canva to create real editable designs. We'll connect the two tools in a few minutes, set up your brand with a free template that I'll have linked in the description below, then run 3 live demos turning a chat into a finished social media post, building an on-brand pitch deck, and then resizing one design so that it fits on all platforms. Then I'll show you Claude Design, a separate design canvas that will build a layout from scratch and then hand it over to Canva. Every demo uses the same example so that you can follow from start to finish. Now, before we begin, what are the benefits of connecting Claude with Canva? If you think about it, a lot of people use AI to write different things such as social media posts, product descriptions, desk outlines, and then they go into Canva, look for a template, write everything again from scratch, fix the spacings, export, and then upload. That switching around is where a lot of time can be wasted. When you connect Canva to Claude, Claude can basically create the design for you. It reads the idea, start building inside Canva, and then hand you back a link that opens up to a Canva file. You basically are going to be staying in one conversation starting from your idea to the finished graphic. And the best part about all this, you just need one paid plan, which is Claude Pro. Claude Pro runs about $20 a month, and it's a little bit cheaper if you have the annual plan. And then for Canva, you can just start with the free plan and go from there. Of course, Canva Pro does give you more access to different types of images and graphics and visuals. However, that's not necessary in order to connect Canva and Claude. Alright, so now that you know the good parts about connecting both tools, let's dive into it. Alright, so I'm now in the Claude desktop app. If you do not have this downloaded on your computer, I'll link it below in the description so that you can go ahead and get that started. The first thing you'll want to do is make sure that your Canva account is connected to Claude. And in order to do that, you'll select this sidebar right here, select Customize, and then Connectors. And you'll see some connectors, which are just basically apps that I already have connected to Claude. And to search for Canva, you'll select Search Connectors, type Canva, and then here you'll see it's popped up under Not Connected. So I'm going to select Canva and then select Connect. You will then see this pop-up show up. You might already have your account linked, so it might remember you. If not, just go ahead and enter your email address and your password and log in. Once you have signed in, you'll see something like this, and this is basically Canva's AI connector that you can use to connect to different apps such as ChatGPT and Claude and stuff like that. So this is basically Canva just giving you a heads up that you are getting ready to connect to Claude. Are you okay with this? And that these are the X amount of permissions that you're giving Claude. So you're going to go ahead and just select allow. And now it's prompting me to open Claude back again. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm back in the Claude desktop app. You'll see that it's already connected. You'll see the option to disconnect back again if you want. And then it also shows you all the permissions that Claude have. If there's something specific that you do not want Claude to have access to, you can go ahead and just say do not allow and choose which you would like them to have. So go ahead and review those permissions and see what you would like Claude to have. I just have it to what the standard is, so I'm not really changing anything. Once you're done, you're going to go ahead and select the back arrow and go back to the chat. The next thing you'll want to do is make sure Canva is already selected as toggled on for the chat. As you can see here, it is for me. And then I'm going to go ahead and say, I would like to use Canva during this conversation. And this is just prompting Claude to get ready and warm up and be like, oh, hey, we are connected to Canva. Let's confirm that. And then you can see here, this pop-up shows up. Allow Claude to search for connectors. So I'm going to go ahead and select allow. And then it's confirming here, Canva is already connected to your account. You're good to go. What would you like to create or work on in Canva? Now, the next thing we will want to do before we start designing is to provide Claude with brand guidelines and also design standards. This is very important to do first because it will make sure that anything that you create has a consistent look in terms of fonts and colors, and also that it aligns with your brand's voice. You will only have to do this once at the start of the chat, and then Claude will remember this throughout the build. If you skip this step, you might get very generic designs that just kind of look all over the place and random. Now, if your business already has some sort of a brand design guideline, you could go ahead and upload it right now. If not, you can use the free template that I provided in the description below. Just fill it out with all your brand design information. and then you'll just go ahead and upload it. Now let me just show you that brand design guideline real quick. So this is what it is. So this is the template not filled out. As you can see here, it's very straight to the point. You would just fill out with your brand name, one line description, who it's for, so who your ideal customer or audience, a tagline that your brand might use often, what kind of brand voice you have, so personality, tone, words, phrases we use, phrases we avoid, and then you will also include the color palette, the typography, so what kind of fonts you're using, and then also the logo imagery. And then here is just basic instructions for you on how to use this template with Claude. And here is the filled out sample that I'm going to be using in this video. So this is just to provide you an idea of what it looks like. So you can see I have it all filled out with the color palettes and the font and the imagery. So this is the prompt that you're going to use to upload your brand guidelines. It says, here are my brand guidelines. Use these colors, fonts, and voice for every design you create in this chat and keep everything consistent with them. And here's where you'll go ahead and upload the brand template. And again, if you already have existing brand guidelines document, you can go ahead and use that instead of the template I provided. So I'm going to go ahead and press enter. All right, as you can see here, Claude responded back saying, got it. I got the Amber and Oak brand guidelines. Here are the colors, the fonts, and the voice. What would you like to create first? So just for the sake of this video, the demo brand that I'm using is Amber and Oak. They're basically a small candle and fragrance shop, and they're launching their fall collection. So they need an Instagram post in order to announce their new launch. And this is the second prompt that I'm using. Create an Instagram post for Amber and Oak, a small batch candle brand announcing our new fall collection. Warm, cozy, earthy feels. Here's the headline, and leave a clean space for a product photo. Keep it minimal and boutique, not flashy. So notice how I said leave a clean space for a product photo. So once this is done in Canva, you can go ahead in there and upload any brand photos that you have. So in this case, it would either be a candle or fragrance. All right, so I press enter and you would see something that looks like this. So that's just Canva working with Claude. It's saying finalizing design. Generating designs can take up to 1 minute. So this is where you can take a break and go grab a cup of coffee. All right, so Canva and Claude is done, and it came back with 4 options for me to pick from, which is really cool. And then it's saying take a look and let me know which one you'll like to keep, and then I'll save it to your Canva account. Claude also pointed out if you would like any tweaks to the layout, text, or feel before committing, just let me know. So here we have the first option, and then we have the second option right here. I kind of like this one. It definitely does have very fall vibes. I'm not sure why it keeps scrolling up a little. That's weird. Ooh, okay, so far this is my favorite fall coziest collections here. So you notice it does make some slight errors. As you can see here, the I in is and the H in here is uppercase, whereas the rest of the sentence is not. So these are some small things you can fix here and there and just basically let Claude know like, hey, I do not like the text in here, please update it to the following text, and then you can write it exactly how you would like it included. And then this is the last one right here, which does look really cool also. And again, you can see that it uses a stock image. So this is where you'll go ahead and upload your actual brand photo. And now if I close this, something I do want to point out, you can always update this prompt that I gave you in any way. So just include any more descriptions that you need in natural language, and then you'll create exactly what you need. So this prompt is just basically a starting point for you. Now, since this is a demo, I'm good with the option that was provided, but if you need to refine yours, this is the time that you'll go ahead and do that and tweak any edits that you'll need. So I like option 3. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I like option 3. And now Claude is just going to go ahead and create the design in Canva. It's saying Claude wants to use create design, so I'm going to say always allow. And now it came back saying option 3 is saved to your Canva account. You can open and edit it here, and it provided a link for me. And this is the design in Canva, which looks really good to me. So this is where you can go ahead and replace the image with the actual brand photo. And also what's cool with this, if you're hitting a roadblock of any kind with Claude over like some minor tweak, once you're in Canva, you can go ahead and easily edit whatever you like in here. But imagine building this from scratch. That would have taken you at least maybe like 10 to 15 minutes versus the 1 or 2 minutes that Claude used to make this same design. All right, so now we're going to go bigger. We're going to create a pitch deck for Amber and Oak. So Amber and Oak wants to sell their candles at a local boutique shop. So they basically need just a simple deck explaining their product and what it is. So I'm going to enter the following. Generate a 6-slide wholesale pitch deck for Amber and Oak using our brand kit. The cover should be who we are, our candle line, why local shoppers love us, wholesale pricing, and how to place an order. Now, something you might notice, not all of this information was covered in our brand kit that we created earlier on, and that's fine. You can always just go ahead and update it here. I'm not going to include all that information. I'm just going to see what Claude comes up with first and then tweak it. But if you want to go ahead and do that right here, you can just expand on this prompt once again with the information that you need. Alright, so Claude is done right now. It came back with a 6-slide outline for me to look, review, and approve. So you can go ahead and review that over here. So it looks kind of like this with number 1, who we are, our candle line, 3, why local shoppers love us, 4, wholesale pricing. And here's an example of a basic tweak. Say for number 4, it's not available at 50% off suggested retail. Maybe it's more like 30%. I can go ahead and tell Claude that for slide 4 in wholesale pricing, please update to from 50% off suggested retail to just 30%. Something like that. And it came back updating from 50 to 30%, which is great. And again, you can go ahead and refine whatever you need here. If you need more information added, you can do that also. But I'm going to go ahead and select Generate Design. Now, when I selected Generate Design, it came back with a prompt for me to immediately use and press Enter on. It says here, please generate the presentation design with the reviewed outline and selected configuration. And by calling the Generate Design structure tool with the following arguments. And then it provided everything that it needs for the presentation. So I'm going to hit and press enter. Okay, so Claude is done. It says your wholesale pitch deck is ready in 4 design variations. Each one cover all 6 slides with the approved content. So this is the first one right here, which looks like that. That looks really nice. I do like the background color. And you can see here it kind of added just fake information, which again, you can update all that information later on in Canva. This is the second option. I feel like this kind of looks very similar to the first also. And then this is the third option. I do like this one so far. I like how the candles are presented here. And then finally, this is the fourth option, which I think this one looks the best. And what's nice about the stock images it provided is that if you have not done your photos yet, because you already gave information on what your brand is, it's basically giving you ideas on how you can take photos of your product, which is awesome. So you can see here how the candles are surrounded by pine cones, so that's something you can recreate. Here we have a woman basically making candles, so you can showcase one of your staff doing that. And then the third is like just a variety of candles surrounded by, vases and plants. So I really do like the ideas it gives even in the stock image that is provided. I like option 4, so I'm going to go ahead and choose that. Let's go with the last option. All right, so Claude came back saying your wholesale pitch deck is safe. Open it here. Now, all this while, we've been making tweaks in Claude before it's being sent to Canva. But what if you have another additional tweak that you need added after it's been exported to Canva? You can go ahead and still do that. So in my case, I want to add some sort of a chart that shows how the wholesale orders have been growing from January to June. So I say add a slide with a simple bar chart showing our wholesale orders growing from January to June 4th. So 6, 9, 11, 15, and 22 orders. And I can say something like, add this as the second last slide. All right, so Claude is done. So it says here the best approach is to first generate a matching single slide chart design, then insert it into the deck as the second to last slide. Let me create the chart slide first. And then it came back with 4 options for me to pick from. It says pick the one that feels most consistent with the deck that was created, and I'll save it and insert it as the second to last slide before the Let's Work Together slide. So if you do not remember what the slide looks like, this was the one that I picked. and it has that really dark brown color as the background. And if I go back to the new slide was generated, all of them have this very light background color, which looks nothing like that dark brown. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this one right here, this last option. And then what I can do is just manually tweak it in Canva. You can also try to continue giving prompts to Claude here to manually tweak those. You can say stuff like, hey, please change the background color to this hex code instead so that it matches the deck, something like that. But in my case, I'm just going to go ahead and manually tweak it in Canva. So I'll say, let's go with the last option. Now it came back saying, now insert this into the pitch deck as the second to last slide. The deck currently has 7 pages, so I'll insert it after page 6. So I'll go ahead and select always allow. And this is where it's using the merge design permission. So this is where those permissions are important and make a lot of sense. And now the chart slide is inserted as slide 7. I can go ahead and open it to review. And this is our wholesale pitch deck. As you can see here, it added filler information like presenter name, and then all the photos and all that are already included. And you can see our one-off slide here. So what you can do is just basically take the same color again. So I'm going to select this and update the color to this. Okay, now we're going to have to tweak the font. So I'm going to add this color, and then now I'm going to update the chart color also. All right, so I went ahead and messed with this, and this is what I came up with. So I don't think this looks like 100% perfect, but since this is a demo, I'm just going to move on. But you kind of get the idea. You just tweak it and refine it however you like. And this is what our final pitch deck looks like. So we have the presenter name, the title, and you can tweak and edit whatever you need right here. We have the candle line, why local shoppers love us, the wholesale pricing information, how to easily place your order, our growth, and then I like how it added that kind of like animation, which is cool. And then finally, let's work together. Okay, so the next thing you'll want to do is just make sure you have everything labeled correctly. So this one is presentation wholesale pitch. I'm going to say amber and oak presentation wholesale pitch. And the reason I'm doing this is that you'll want to make sure everything is labeled really well so that if you ever want to pull up a file with Claude, which I'm going to do shortly, Claude knows which file exactly you're talking about. And I'm doing the same thing here with the Instagram post that we just created. So I'm going to say amber and oak Instagram fall post. So I'm now back in Claude. I want to go ahead and take the Instagram post that was initially created by Canva and Claude, and I want to resize it to a Facebook post and also a Pinterest pin. And this is the prompt that I would use. Take the Amber and Oak Fall Collection Instagram post, resize it for a Facebook post and a Pinterest pin, and export all 3 as PNGs. Now, if you want to go ahead and be more specific to minimize errors, you can go ahead and add the specific file name so that Claude can search for it easily. So I'll update this part right here and then press enter. All right, so it came back saying the Instagram post design ID is, and it gave a bunch of numbers and letters. So that is just basically the unique ID to find what it needs. It says now I'll resize it to a Facebook post, and it gives the dimensions and a Pinterest pin simultaneously, then export all 3 as PNGs. So I'm going to go ahead and select always allow. Okay, it came back saying both resized versions are ready. Now exporting all 3 as PNGs simultaneously. It says note that the download links are time limited, so grab them soon. All 3 versions are also saved as separate designs in your Canva account if you ever need to re-export. And here we are. This is the Facebook post that was created in Canva, and here is the Pinterest pin. So that's pretty cool of Claude. What Claude did was gave you the files ready to be downloaded as PNG files, but it also gave you the design in Canva so that you can make any tweaks that you need and then download again here. Right, so the next thing I want to show you guys is Claude Design. So a lot of people kind of mix these two up. Everything so far that we have created has been using the Canva connector. So Claude reaching into Canva to make posts, decks, and exports. Claude Design is a separate thing. You can access it in the sidebar right here and just select design, and it looks something like this. So as you can see here, it has a chat area, and then it gives you options for templates that you can start with, and then you can also find all your projects right here at the bottom. You'll also notice that it has a quick tutorial for you so you can learn more about Claude Design, which I highly recommend. So while the connector that we used before is great for posts and decks, Claude Design shines for richer things such as like a landing page, a website, and also any kind of interactive one-pagers. Now you'll notice here at the bottom it says set up a design system. So this is something that's specific to Claude Design. It kind of works like the brand kit we used earlier on, and it basically has like multiple design systems that you can upload and use for different brands. I'm not going to go ahead and do that today. I'll do that in a separate video. I'm just going to go ahead and use the previous brand guideline template that we created initially. So to do that, you'll just go ahead and select the plus sign icon here and attach the file. Once it is uploaded, I'll use the same prompt again that says here are my brand guidelines, use these colors, fonts, and voice for every design you create in this chat and keep everything consistent with them. All right, after I press enter, this is what the actual workstation looks like. You'll notice that there is the chat area on the left and then a live design Canva here on the right. So what you'll do is basically describe what you want. Claude can build a real layout in front of you and then you can refine it, clicking elements, leaving comments, even dragging little sliders to adjust spacing and color. One thing I do want to point out, Claude Design is on a paid plan, so you'll need anything that's pro and up. So I'm going to go ahead and create a landing page for Amber and Oak's Fall Candle Collection. So I'm going to enter this prompt right here. Design a clean landing page for Amber and Oak's Fall Candle Collection. A hero section with the headline, Fall's Coziest Collection is here, a 3-product grid below it, an email sign up, and a simple footer. So I'm going to go ahead and select send. And as you can see here, it's starting to add live updates to the landing page, which is really cool. So you can see real time what is going on. And Claude is done. It came back with the fall collection landing page, and it also provided updates on what was done. So it did design the hero, a 3-product grid, and then an email sign up. And then it says here, drag your own candle photos onto any image slot and they'll stick. Want me to adjust the product name, prices, add a scent strength, or update the stories section. So let's go ahead and look at this. So this looks pretty good. And this is where your images would go. And then right here at the bottom, we have the email sign up to join the newsletter. And something you'll notice here at the top is that there's a place to basically mark up and update anything. So you would just click and tell Claude what to change. So for example, you want the font for this to be bigger. So you can just say increase the font size and then send to Claude. So that's something you can see that it's doing here real time. It's going to go ahead and update the font size for me. And then it says here, bump the hero headline from 62 pixels to 76 pixels. And then here it also has a place for comments. So let's say you're working with your team and then there are multiple people working on this. You can include comments and they can also comment back, which is a nice way to collaborate with your team. The next thing that it has is this edit button right here. So this is any kind of specific edits that you want. It says click on any element on the canvas to edit it. Repeated elements are edited together. And then it also provides a code section. And then finally, it also lets you zoom in and out and then also present the landing page in full screen mode and then also lets you share the design. Now, in terms of exporting, you can go ahead and export this as a PDF, a PowerPoint, a project archive, or a standalone HTML. You can also send this out to different apps. So you can send it to Claude Code to go ahead and build this page, or you can also send it to Canva, which I'm going to go ahead and test that out right now. Okay, so it's saying that the import was successful and I can go ahead and open it in Canva. So now this is what it's showing me. It's basically just a bunch of code and obviously something went really wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to Claude and ask Claude to fix it. It is showing an error in Canva. Can you fix it? All right, so it's saying that it fixed it and that it re-imported it as a static page and Canva rendered it cleanly this time. It says the earlier version was imported as an interactive app, which tripped the error. Annotating the page so Canva snapshots is a static design resolved it. And I just opened it up. Now it's showing me a blank background. So again, something is wrong. So I'm going to go back into Claude and this time say I can't see all the elements on the page. It's just showing a blank background. So Claude is done. So it says fixed. The blank page was because Canva couldn't run the live components runtime, so it captured an empty frame. I rebuilt it as a flat static page. So let's go ahead and look at that. And this is what it looks like. So I think that looks pretty good. If you want to go ahead and design in Canva, basically you have that option right here also. And this is where you can go ahead and update any elements in Canva, such as the color and the fonts. And I'm going to scroll back up so you can look at everything again. Some things did not transfer well. As you can see here, the buttons are not aligned properly, so that's something you would have to fix. But this is nice that you have the option to work in either Canva or Claude. Like you can start in Claude and then finish up your edits in Canva, or you can just continue working in Claude. So basically, in a nutshell, the connector that we used earlier on for our chats, that works great for posts, decks, resizing, and exports. Claude Design can build a layout from scratch on its own canvas, then hand it to Claude Code, or if you want to continue editing in Canva to finish and publish. So you can basically use the connector for everyday content and then Claude Design if you're building something bigger. And that's it. That's how you can use Canva with Claude to make real-time designs and to also save a lot of time. If you ended up building something, please comment below what you ended up building and what your experience was like with it. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel. I post weekly videos breaking down AI tools and concepts in plain English, which is especially helpful if you're just getting started. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.